Hi there, Peter McKenzie with Rincon Property Management. So we wanted to make a video today about a leasing fee. So we get a lot of questions about leasing fees, what they are, why we charge them, why some people do, why some people don't. And I wanted to make sure that you really understood what the leasing fee is it worth it, should you pay it, why is it good for you, all those things. So in the next few minutes, we're gonna answer those questions for you. So first off, let's just define what a leasing fee is. So at our company and most companies, a leasing fee covers all of the work from the beginning of the property becoming vacant up until right after the move-in. So that leasing fee covers any costs associated with advertising, 3D scans, whatever it takes to advertise that property, including, writing the marketing language, showing the property, fielding interest from interested people that want to rent the property, drawing up leases, screening applications, doing a move-in inspection, moving the tenant in. That's what the leasing fee covers. It's really important that if a management company has a leasing fee, that it's the right size leasing fee that actually properly funds all of those activities that it's supposed to cover. So that's what a leasing fee is. It's separate of the management fee. So you pay your management fee that covers the ongoing management of the property. The leasing fee covers a very short period of time from when it's vacant to when it's occupied again. So the question comes up, is it worth it? In my opinion, absolutely it's worth it. And here's why. The leasing fee allows a company to properly manage their leasing process. So leasing properties is an integral part of, being a landlord. And if you have a robust system in place that employs the best practices to get that property rented the quickest to the most qualified tenant, that's what's the most important thing, because an ounce of prevention up front cures a whole lot of problems on the backside. And part of that upfront homework is done during that leasing process. So at Rincon, we have a very well-defined, well-oiled machine on every stage of getting that property rented, because bad things happen to properties that sit vacant for a long time. So if your property sits vacant for 90 days, more often than not, you're going to be targeted by scammers, or you're going to be targeted for somebody trying to break in or things along those lines. So getting that property rented the fastest is the most important thing. I want to quantify that for you. So at Rincon, we analyze our numbers on a monthly basis, and two of the things that we analyze are how long is each property vacant between tenants, and then how long did it take us from releasing the property for showing to a signed lease. So for 2021, our average vacancy time from when the last tenant moved out to the next tenant moved in, 11 days. The industry average is probably about 30 days. So because we have a leasing fee and we fund someone to actively field calls from interested parties, someone to use some salesmanship in getting the potential interested parties to rent the house, that's what the leasing fee covers, which allows us to minimize that vacancy time. So that one number is the vacancy time, 11 days, which is well above the industry average. And then the other number is from when we release the property for showing, so after we've cleaned it, prepared it, and it's ready to show, because we don't show properties that are in bad condition, till when we have the signed lease in 2021, that is about 1.1 days. So those numbers are phenomenal. We are in a weird time, because of COVID and lockdown. So those are way faster than normal. In 2020, we saw closer to like 10 days for those numbers, but so far 2021, 1.1 days, and we're well into February by the time when this video is being filmed. So you can make the argument that companies that properly fund their leasing fee usually rent their properties out quicker because they have the resources to actively go after them. The other important part of the leasing fee is how you cover the move-in process. So in our particular case, we do a 3D scan, top to bottom, 360 degrees, of the property right before the tenant moves in. We also take several hundred still photos, and then we fill out our move-in inspection forms. This is laying the groundwork to really protect our client's property against any potential damage when the tenant moves out. Companies that don't charge leasing fees don't usually have the resources or the time to do as thorough of a job. So in our case, we do an excellent job at the move-in inspection to really save us time and protect the owner's interest at the move after the move out. I want to talk about vacancy, and really vacancy is the enemy of the landlord. So the longer the property sits vacant, the more you're not collecting rent. In our area, average rent's about $3,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. For every day that the property is vacant is roughly $100. So if you hire a management company and they take 30 days to rent your property, you literally it's going to cost you $3,000 in vacancy time. If you hire a company that has statistically a much shorter vacancy time, for example, our vacancy time, if you recall, was at 11 days, you're looking at a cost of $1,100. Well, that's a savings of $2,100 that you're not losing to vacancy. So in that instance, I would make the argument that the company charging the leasing fee is actually leasing the property faster, therefore saving the client more money. Even though it appears it's more expensive because you're paying the leasing fee, you're making up for it in the form of the property is renting quicker and you're not losing as much money to vacancy. So leasing fees can vary. Some companies just flat out don't charge them. Some companies have small ones, some companies have really large ones. Why the difference? Why is there a large variance in this leasing fee? It depends really on how the company is structured. If the company puts a lot of value on leasing the property quickly, on having systems and processes in place to ensure like a consistent delivery of service, those usually are the companies that are charging the leasing fee. Companies that just don't charge a leasing fee, they may struggle to fill the properties fast. So a lot of people's strategy is put the advertisement on Zillow or Trulia or one of those, and then just sit back and forget about it and wait for the renters to come to you. While that does work, it takes longer. It may take 30 to 45 days, which, as we talked about earlier, has a real cost to the landlord, versus companies that are proactive with their leasing. They have people, staff members, who actively reach out to people who show interest and try to get the property rented sooner. That is usually the sign of a great company versus just an average or mediocre company. The whole set it and forget it and wait for it to lease is not in the best interest of the client, because it takes way longer to rent the property. On average, on our properties that we advertise, I know that we should be receiving about 30 to 50 leads a week, and our staff sift through those and actively go after them to get the properties rented quicker. That's one of the strategies we use to really shrink that vacancy time and get the property rented so our clients can start collecting rent. So when you are evaluating a company and you're evaluating, one with a leasing fee, one without, you really have to look at the big picture and not just what you're going to spend on that fee that month, but more, how is this going to impact my long-term occupancy versus the vacancy? And that, how long it's occupied and the minimizing the vacancy is way more valuable than whatever you spend on the leasing fee. Interestingly enough, because we get a lot of questions about this, we've done some of our own research on companies who charge leasing fees in our areas and companies who don't charge a leasing fee. And if you look at their reviews on like Yelp and Google, companies who do not charge a leasing fee had drastically lower, more negative ratings, which is, in my opinion, is just an indication that they're not properly funding their company so they can execute these systems, leasing being one of the main ones, and it's showing in the satisfaction of their customers, both their renters, their clients. They're not as happy because things are taking longer. Things aren't, the communication isn't as good. So it's just interesting to see that correlation of a company who charges one versus a company who doesn't charge one, and how their ratings compare to each other. One thing to consider is communication. So a lot of our clients hire us when they come from another company and they're not happy. And the number one complaint is communication was poor, they didn't know what was going on. So if the client who pays the management company to manage their property is having a hard time getting a hold of them, how hard of a time do you think the tenants or the potential tenants have when they're trying to get a hold of the management company? And that right there, that poor communication, and we hear that all the time, is going to lead into a longer vacancy time. Again, showing you why there is value in paying the leasing fee, because the harder it is to get a hold of the management company, the longer it's going to take to get it rented. Just another reason why paying a management fee is in your best interest. The leasing fee is just one small piece of the big picture, and you want to make sure the company you hire is looking at the big picture and adequately funding themselves so they can do the best job and provide the most consistent service to their clients. Hopefully this makes sense. It's a relatively confusing issue when you have companies that are charging different fees all over the board. Hope this brought some clarity. You have a little more insight into why the leasing fee is there and why it's a good idea for you. If you like this content, if you want us to keep receiving it from us, please subscribe to our channel, and we hope you have a good day.